Second talk of today's session given by Wolfgang Reisig. Wolfgang.
Okay. So how the technique will function. Markets are not. Thank you for closing the door. Do you hear me?
No, we can't switch it on. Now I can talk.
Now you hear me, also people in the last row, perfect. Great. So the aim of this talk is twofold. First I will try to explain to you how two more or less complicated markets really function. I hope you will understand that. And the reason why I want you to understand that is the second aim of this talk, namely, I want to try to understand it by help of a modeling technique. And I think the modeling technique is most adequate for this kind of systems that I will explain to you. So I think you cannot explain this kind of models with any other modeling technique as well. So this we may discuss at the end. It is for this really a most adequate modeling technique to understand this kind of markets. And that's why I was becoming interested in this kind of markets. Let's take it the right way. Okay, so last year we talked about principles of modeling, of composition, of course, and this year we made case studies, concrete case studies. And the motivation of these case studies you have seen by my very first talk and by Peter's talk. And I will just use this hierarchical modeling technique. If you don't know it, it's not a big problem. It is so intuitive that you should immediately understand how it works. Okay. Modeling these markets, as we said, are a paradigm for many areas, and you have seen already this kind of picture. And now I will talk about this trading modeling model aspect. So you have supply and demand. That's what Peter said already. You have the settlement. You have the decision to sell, the decision to buy, and to settle the trade. And the market model looks always like this. Somebody is interested in selling, and somebody is interested in buying, and then there maybe come out a settled trade. And in the middle, there is a trading model. And there are very many, as I understand, very many different trading models. Peter discussed it already, and I will show you three of them. The first one you know already, that is the trivial version, and then you will see two other ones. And the first point is here, when you say, aha, what is this on a, I think I should go here. And I don't want to stand up so long. If you don't mind, I will sit down here. It's unfair. You are sitting and I will sit. Okay, so we say this is a model, this is a big module, and how is it composed? It's composed of 4 modules, and you just can compose them in this way. So these are 4 modules, each module is written here again, and there's a composition operator, which we showed you last year, and you just can compose them this way. That's it. Okay, now we go into. I also don't like this chair. I don't see you. I want to see.
You go to the back.
When you start sleeping, then I will have to make a joke. So therefore, I want to see you also. So now the steps from here to here goes like this. Here we have already something that looks like a petronet, and the behavior of this is already a petronet. That means we have an activity here, and it can fire whenever it wants. We have a V that is a variable, and there is a place that is a seller. So what this shows to you is there can be very many sellers coming. So this model does not limit in any way the number of sellers that are coming. And likewise here, the number of buyers is not limited in any way. And there may come a deal at the end here. And what is a deal? Well, a deal is something that can be evaluated like this. So a deal is a triple consisting of a seller, a price, and a buyer. So at the end, we add the price to the seller and the buyer. Okay, and in the middle we have an interface pattern, so to speak. We have two places, a seller and a buyer here, and the deals here. And in the middle there must, of course, be something. And every trading model has this interface, as you see here, but it's different. It differs inside here. And I will show you now three different trading models. Right here already we have some, to make it very formal, we have three kind of symbols: sellers, buyers, prices, and we have these three variables, and each variable has a time. Not very exciting. Frank agrees, I understood.
Wolfgang,
Yeah.
there's no negative exit, right?
No.
So they have to, at the end, there is some buy activity.
No. There may be a buy activity. There may be a settled trade, but maybe there is no settled trade.
And where are you when there is no deal?
When there is no settled trade, you can see that here is no deal. When no deal comes out, when there is no deal here, and you compose this, and there is no deal here, and then nothing goes out. You have seen with Peter's example already that sometimes there is no deal.
Okay.
Okay, and you have seen already the bazaar. Oh, sorry, the picture you have seen before here is now here. It is exactly the same picture. And now I show you the bazaar again, now a little bit more formal. The trading model bazaar, you have seen from Peter already, there may be a seller, there may be a buyer. V and K are variables, and in case you have to find a P, that is a price between the price of the buyer, of the seller, and the price of the buyer, then you can make a bargaining, and then you can do deal. And maybe there is no such P because the price, the quantity of the buyer is bigger than the intended price of the seller, as of the buyer, and there is no deal. That's it. Technically, the transition will not fire. And that's all. So there is no negative entry.
But sometimes you want to go on with the negative outcome, right? And then restart again or something like this.
Yeah.
Then you have to model it differently, right?
Yeah, then you have an additional transition.
Got it. Yeah.
Sorry, with an additional inscription that tells you the negative case. But we just say
We don't need it here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that was the bazaar, and that's already all that I wanted to talk about the bazaar, because the two other activities, auctions, are more interesting from technical point of view. So the next is the art auction. Maybe you have a famous picture of some famous painter and you want to sell it. How does this kind of auction work? Well, you see already a raw picture of this. The trading model art auction consists of two parts. I try to stand up this better. So, the trading model art auction consists of an opening auction and a main auction. Okay, that's what I tell you. You have maybe, as I was in my case, I've never thought about how I would sell my Picasso because I don't have one. So, but if you want to sell your Picasso, then you will do it like this. So now we go into the details, the opening auction. If the action is possible, then you go to the main auction, and this is possible in case there is something like an accepted first bid. And now let's look into the details. How does the opening auction work? Well, there is a seller. Now there is a concrete item. V0 is not longer a variable. V0 is an item. For instance, V0 is Frank. He wants to sell his Picasso. Okay, here is a variable V, and we evaluate the variable by Frank, and then we come here and we see the first bid. So Frank has an idea that he wants 2 million, for instance, for his Picasso. That's his idea, and there may be 2 cases. Now there is an alternative, as you see here. It may be nobody is willing to give 2 million. 200 euros is enough. Everybody thinks for this lousy Picasso of Frank, and then the bid closes without any result. Or there may be an accepted first bid, and that is the case if the price of the seller is smaller or equal to the price of somebody K who is willing to pay the price. So if in this question,
where does the first bid come without a buyer? Is it a rule of the auction house or whatever?
well, there is an extreme case that there starts an auction and there is no buyers. Then they would not start the auction.
I don't see them in the model, that's the point.
It's right.
For the opening action.
Good question. That is a very good question. I was thinking to include the buyer already here, and at the end I didn't, because it's a little bit cheating. Let me say it this way. It's a little bit cheating. Yeah.
No.
Oh, of course. I think we've done
You know the game.
One could tell the PhD students a small secret. In a good talk, there is always something, a little bit of cheating. Isn't it true? He's laughing so
He said
much
the quiet
because,
part out loud.
because he knows very well how true it is.
Some talks are only cheating.
Don't cheat too much, but a
Exactly.
little bit of cheating is okay. Yes, and you will see what it comes. Here it is already. Yeah, here you see this is the opening action. I can see. Here is the opening action. Here is the one art auction. We only have here the case that one Picasso is auctioned, there's nothing else. And now here you see the buyers. And as you may have understood already, we are on the schematic level. We are not on the level where we say there is this seller and you all are the buyers. But we only want to sell, there exists a seller and there exists a set of buyers. Okay? So let's assume there exists a set of buyers, and this set is K0. It's the set of buyers. So when I would write K0 into this, now it's a technicality of patronage. When I would write here into this place K0, then there would be one token. And this one token is a set K0. But that's not what we want. We want there to be all the elements of this set. And therefore I write elements of K0. Semantically, it has to do with predicate logic, and it's clearly defined what in the case of predicate logic is meant. But here you must say, on the schematic level, I tell you here, when there exists a set of buyers, then they are here initially. And Guido asked, what is happening if this set is empty? Well, then nothing can happen. Okay? But here now you have the price of the buyers, the price of K, and if there exists a K in here, the buyer that is willing, who is willing to pay the price, that is at least willing to pay the price that the seller is wanting, then something happens, namely there exists already a current bid consisting of the buyer, the seller, the buyer, and the price of the seller. Because initially, even if I was stupid enough that secretly I would also give Frank 3 million, but he wants only 2 million, then you said what you want. I did not say what I was willing to pay. So I pay you only your 2 million. And that is here. But now we are here. Now we are here, that means at least one of the buyers was willing to buy. And the rest of the game now is maybe there's some other buyers who are even willing to increase this bid. So you see the role of, the role of the opening auction is there at least one buyer? And if there is no buyer, if there is no buyer, then nothing happens. If there is at least one buyer, then we are here. And here we increase, so we increase the price. So assuming a buyer K prime, whose price is bigger than the existing price, P prime is the price of the, then he raises his hand and says, I'm willing even to 2.5 million. Okay? And then the original buyer will no longer be in charge of this Picasso, but the new buyer who is willing to pay more will have the current bid. And that may happen several times until nobody is raising his hands anymore. And then we are at 5 million, and then with 5 million we close the auction. There is the boss of the auction who says first, second, third, and then the Summer says, now it's finished. And then Frank gets 5 million for his Picasso. Okay? So why did I tell you all these details? For two reasons. Firstly, this kind of decomposition and abstraction is visible here. And secondly, now you have understood how art auction really functions. But I think that is not so surprising. So I had an idea that art auctions work more or less this way. I have another idea for it. So I found the perfect way to look at you and to speak. Okay, now the auction, there is no auction that only auctions the one Picasso of Frank. There is one after the other. And now we want to model how does it work that one auction is finished and the next picture then comes Sharam and he has the Picasso. We have Schiele, yes, Van Gogh, and he starts with 2 million. And then the same work. So we just only want to model one after the other, and that's very simple to do. So then we have a place next auction, and only when there is a token here, then the next auction will happen, and nobody is willing to take the picture of Sharam. Then one after the other is offered and is asked, is there at least one buyer willing to buy this? If not, next picture. If yes, then there comes this bidding, and at the end, this picture is sold. Okay? So now we have seen all the behavioral details of the art auction. Okay. The main point comes now, that is the stock exchange. How does stock exchange work? And I think us like me, until a year ago or so, we thought this stock exchange is only gangsters there. Gangsters are gangsters and not serious people, and we don't, anyway, I have no idea how this stock exchange really functions, and it's not a serious thing to do. This was my attitude to this, and I think many of us did. But then I started to understand how it works, and I was in a way impressed.
But they are really gangsters.
At least if everybody would play according to the rules, it is a very clever schema. It is really smart. I really changed my mind. Of course, there may be gangsters. I don't say they are not gangsters, but
They're smart gangsters.
they're smart gangsters. If everybody would play according to the rules, it would be really fair. It would be really fair. And my point in the moment is to define what fairness means here. So intuitively, after you understood how it works, you intuitively say, yes, this is fair. Because you understand the way the price is constructed is reasonable. And I don't see any better way to do it. And in this way, I must confess, I am impressed how it works. And I want to convince you that this is also a good idea. And I think the only way to understand this is by means of this kind of modeling technique. So you should not only learn here how markets function, but you should also learn how good modeling functions. So here you see an abstract stock exchange. Again, you have seller and buyer and potentially a deal. Okay. So the schema of the trading model is always the same. Sellers, buyers, and potentially a deal. Maybe no deal, or maybe many deals, or whatever. And now we start, you see, you can imagine already that inside there is a lot of things, and now we have on an abstract level a composition of many things. So the first thing is there's a preparation, a generation of orders. So there may be orders of sellers and orders of buyers, and if you are a member of this trading system, then you can put the order saying, I want a Mercedes-Benz share and to give a price. Okay? And then comes the next component is an assignment of orders. So the orders are assigned. There are two trading models inside this trading model. You can trade this way or that way. And what this and that way is, I will show you in a minute. You see already, either your order, it goes into an order book. This order book is a central thing. An order book is just a collection of orders that have been given, but they are not yet served. Okay? And sometimes you enter the system and there's an immediate trading. So there's you will buy something, you want to buy something, but in the order book is somebody who wants to sell to your price or a better price, and then immediately the deal is done. Okay, so now comes the auction-based trading. Auction-based means there are two entries in the order book that are put together and made a deal, and then you may change the trading form from this auction-based to the continuous, so-called continuous trading. By the way, the names, I hate these names. Continuous trading and auction-based trading is not very intuitive. For me, it was not intuitive. But Peter convinced me these are the standard terms in this world, and we should respect the standard terms. Okay, and somebody may change the trading form, and we come to this in a minute. And at the end, we collect all the deals, and then it's done. Okay, these are 6 components in this world. I'm looking around if there is still somebody who listens to me. There is some who is so sleeping already that. Okay. So now let's go into a little bit into the details. The first thing is, there is something more in the environment, namely this change from auction-based to continuous trading and vice versa is steered from outside. So there is a boss of the trading system, and he can change from that to that. And I give you an intuition already why what he is doing in the morning when the trading starts. There must be a price. And what he is doing is he's just collecting orders. So there are 10 people who want to buy for their respective price. There are 20 who want to sell. And there's nothing happening, but he collects. So for 15 minutes, he just collects orders before some trading is done. And then this auction-based trading occurs, and then some deals are constructed, and there is already a price. Because what the central aim of the trader is the following: there must always be a price, and the price steps should not be great. Prices should increase stepwise, plus slow steps, or decrease steps, slow steps, and there should not be big steps. And when you understand this, then you understand how the market functions. Did you know how markets function, or why do you say yes? Okay, so you only control if I'm correct or not.
That's all.
Okay. So, and this is now coming from outside to change from this to that on business. Now we go to the first component. Sorry. You should not have seen this. No. So the first thing is each order gets a number. Okay, each order gets a number. So when you submit, the seller submits his order, then his order gets a number. Or the buyer submits his order, and he also gets a number. And the numbers go there or there. And these numbers are very important. And you will see what is important. And what Peter already said, and what I never understood, that is, it depends on milliseconds if your order is there or there. And I always thought, why should milliseconds bother so much? And the idea is, milliseconds are not what really matters here. What only matters is order. Is the order in which the orders come in order. And if the agreement would be that you would not send electronically by milliseconds, but if you have to submit your orders by snails, which takes two days, that your snail is going by some very slow. If everybody has to do it in a slow way, it's okay. It would function likewise, because it depends only on the order in which the orders come in and not on the milliseconds.
The causal order here depends on the temporal order, right?
I say something general. In informatics, there are some religious people.
No, it's just
Let me
what you describe
what
was
I
that
mean.
there is a temporal order, and that induced a causal order.
Let me mean what
That's
I mean
right.
by it's not right. I said, now I make it small. No. You started this discussion.
That's the presentation as a cheat.
Now I tell you what Holger is. Okay. No, I will continue. Holger provoked me, and I will continue.
Oh, there's a microphone.
He just got a microphone.
So, in informatics, there is a religion. And the religion is, there are some holy people like Holger who believe in this religion. And the religion says there exists in the world a notion called time. And this time is something like real numbers, and whenever you wish it, you make this, and you get it for free, and it may be square root of 2 or whatever. You get it for free, and always in ultimate position, this is the time. This kind of a notion of time is pure religion. It has no real
I would say it's physics.
No, it does not. So now I quote Einstein, and maybe you are smarter than Einstein, but I'm not so sure. So Einstein was once asked, what is the notion? What does mean the notion of time? And you know what Einstein said? Time is what my wristwatch shows. That's what he said. And what he meant is there is no notion, religious
No,
notion
there's
of
a
time.
notion of absolute time. That's what Einstein says. This is why I was asking for the light codes, where you thought about light codes.
What exists and what Peter showed already is there are clocks. In the world are clocks. But there is not a religious notion like this. Saint Holger says the notion of time.
Okay, let's use scoping. Let's assume for the scope of this talk we are following your religion. So for the sake of progress of the talk,
In the afternoon.
we can have another scope.
Okay. So you see, the saint is not answering for that. but let's do it later. It's not, by the way, to the dishes. It's not the first time that we have this discussion.
But
Okay.
at the end, you're friends, that's okay.
Yes, at the end, sometimes I'm in Saarbrücken and then we have a nice dinner and then we can fight wonderfully.
Absolutely.
Okay. So the first point is each order, when you go to the stock market and say, I want to buy Mercedes share for this price, then you get a number. Okay? And the number matters. And now comes the assignment of orders. So either your order goes to the order book, or it goes directly somewhere else and is directly served. So either your, for instance, if you say you want to buy, but you want 2 million for one share, you can make this offer, this requirement. You're free to make this requirement, but then you go to the order book, and I'm sure you will stay in the order book forever, because nobody is willing to give you 2 million. But if you are entered in the order book. Okay. And now assume you are going. The trade is in the moment in the order book. Initially, the order book is empty, and when you enter your order, then you see the order is going into the order book. So these two transitions just fill the order book. Whenever when we are still in the auction-based trading, we just write all the orders coming into the order book. Okay? And if the auctioneer forgets and goes for drinking coffee, then the order book will fill and much more goes into the order book, and people get nervous because they want to make deals and not to be just written into the order. But at the end of the day, the order book is cleared. And to be cleared means that matching orders, like Peter showed you already, so that buyers and sellers come together. And in a way that I don't go into the details, the order book is clear. That means a set of orders can be executed, and then it will then be executed. And at the end of the day, the order book is clear. That means there are some orders, some selling orders, but the sellers want very high prices, and there are some buyer orders, but the buyers are only willing to pay very low prices. So they are written in the order book, but will not come together. Okay, and they would stay there forever when they would not go to the other, when they would not come in more orders. But usually this is not the case. So after a while, the order book is clear, and then we go to the other way. And the other way is the following: the continuous trading means now we have an order book full of selling orders and buying orders, and when now an order comes in, then we can make a deal, and here you see you make a deal, and then you can get a quick deal. Okay, and here is the way that you change the trading form from auction-based to continuous or vice versa. And you see what I shall show you first. But first we have the order book here, and it goes up here, and it will be clear. It will be cleared and goes down here, or it will go back. And I cheated you already a little bit again, because there is one other. As I said, you always want to have a price. The market always wants to have a price. And maybe in the morning you take the price of yesterday, but there's always an old price. And this is necessary to have, when you clear the order book, you sometimes need the last price paid. There may be, of course, coming new prices, and the overall price may rise or increase, but there's always a last price. In this case, it is this one that's the last price. So when you go from continuous to auction-based, you say you take the order book, put it here, and you take the current price and put it here. And when you later on clear the order book, then you take this price and the meanwhile increased order book and go down again. So here you see you can here you can collect all deals that are possible in the order book, and you have deals here and you have deals here, and that's it already. Almost it is. What you have, I hope, understood more or less precisely is what happens with a few, let's say, with one order here and with one order here. Now the orders are coming in, as you've seen before. There is no control how many orders come in. There may come in a lot of orders, and then we have to respect the order in which they came. And the order in which they came, we respect here. So slowly we come also to the end of the graphical representation. I think this one understands, but more one would not understand because it's too many arrows. And here we have the very last concept. See, at the end of the day, what happens in the evening when trading stops at 6 o'clock or so, what is done then? But then you take the order book as it is here and empty it all. So whenever somebody in the morning put into the order book that he wants to deal, but he wants to sell for 2 million, but the price over the day is only 2 cents, then nothing will happen. And at the end of the day, what is remaining in the order book will just disappear. And the other morning, the order book is empty, and the bargaining starts again. So that is what's happening here. What is important, each submitted order is somehow processed. Change of trading form is governed from outside, that you have seen. And when no more orders arrive, then the auction eventually stops without matching orders. Okay, I'm sure not everybody has understood all the details, and maybe you are not even interested into the details, but you may make sure that somebody understands that it is correct. Now we speak about the notion of correctness. Or how can you prove that things are correct? And in a good modeling technique, you can prove properties. And I see Holger, for instance, would say, he knows how you would prove something, namely by temporal logic. Everything is done by temporal logic nowadays. And of course, what I will say is temporal logic is fine for something, but for really big systems, it makes no sense. Because temporal logic always assumes a global view of a system. And you say you have a big company and you want to model the company of Siemens, then the company of Siemens has no global views, and you cannot model check the company of Siemens. You can model check smaller components. You can model check more or less. 5 minutes I only have, okay. You can model check small systems, relatively bigger systems than I expected. I must confess that the systems you can model check are bigger than what I expected, but still they are small. And they are not, this is not compositional, because when you compose two components, composition is linear, and a set of global states grows exponentially, and then you cannot model check anymore. What else do we have if we don't have model checking? Well, we have petrol nets, and here the same system you know already. And in petrol nets, you wonderful can follow what happens with your order. So you start, you start with your order here, and then you can say, it goes there, then it may go there, and then it may go there, up there, and then it will be part of the deal. Well, this is not the only way you can use petronets. You can also say there is function now. Yeah, here you say another. You can say follow another way, and then you can have a deal. Or you go this way, and you can have a deal. Or you go even a very complicated way, and you have no deal. So you can always follow this kind of path. Or say differently, this is already cheating. You can compute the set of paths that I have shown you. And now I give you an idea what petronets can do. So this is with petronets place invariance. The first point is you can represent the patron net as a matrix. Okay, that goes as follows. The places are the line indices, the transitions are the row indices, and inside the matrix you write the arc inscriptions. Okay, and that's what you have in patterns: places, transitions, and arcs. And the arc inscriptions are inside, and the places are this level. Now you have a matrix. Okay, matrix representation of the matrix. That is nothing very exciting. But when you have a matrix, you can construct an equational systems. And this one, you transpose the matrix, and then you have a wonderful equational system. And then you can solve this equation system. And then if you have a solution of the equation system, then you can derive properties that are shaped in the following way. That says for each reachable marking M, the marking, the set of tokens on place 1 modified by a function f1 plus, etc. The set of markings on the last place modified by a certain function is always the same. It's always complete. So this kind of invariance of constants are wonderful to prove a lot of things. And that you can do with patroness and with no other wonderful technique. Okay, now you can of course ask what is the addition and what is the product. The addition is, say, the multiplicity of tokens. You can have many instances of the same token, and that is the addition. Frequently you only have one, but it's also okay. And the product, you need a product when you solve this kind of a system. The product is the composition of functions, the composition of the arc inscriptions, so to speak. Okay? Yeah, and with this technique you can more or less all of your interesting questions you can answer, and that's what you would do here. But here, I think I understood that we should stop. The change of trading form is made from outside. That we easily see here. These transitions have a step outside. That is okay. So the next thing is, whenever no more orders arrive, the auction eventually stops without any matching orders anymore. So it stops in a regular way. But this is easily be done because then you say when nothing else comes, then these transitions are no longer activated. And that means these transitions are no longer activated. After a while, these are no longer activated. And eventually that one is no longer activated. Okay, very simple. The second resume is, well, with this way to do it, you can separate components, you can talk about real-world items and data, you can formulate behaviors, you can refine in abstract models as a partially ordered set. That is what Peter spoke about, not as a tree, but as a partially ordered set. And you can formulate and prove a lot of system properties. You can assess the complexity of behavior, explain systems to stakeholders. That's what I intended today. Hope I was also be successful. You can estimate costs. You can formulate agreements and orders. You can specify functionalities and varieties. And that you should do on the level of models and not on the level of software. So all this is nowadays tried to be done on software level, and it is simply nonsense. Do it on the modeling level. But that means you need a modeling technique where you can do this. And so far, the modeling techniques that have been made are all not able to do this. They are so lousy that they cannot do it. And it's high time that we develop it much better things. And you can do it on any level of abstraction. That is so important. Programming language defines the level of abstraction far too detailed anyway, but you cannot go away from this very good. And in this modeling technique, you choose the level of abstraction very important. And with all these things in alphabetic order, including sets, you cannot do it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Wolfgang. we do have time, I think, for a few questions, if we have some.
Who do I ask?
Yes.
You hinted at the beginning at fairness. I didn't hear the name again in the entire talk.
Yes, but I said initially, I have a problem. I have not yet defined. I have an intuition what this fund should express, but I have not yet a formal definition of this kind of fairness. And I have none. I will not talk about this. So I cheat only a little. I cheat. I did not cheat saying I know what fairness is. Intuitively means the price that is defined this way is an intuitive way fair.
Thanks.
Any other? Yes?
So in terms of techniques, there's also a simulation you can do, right? You can run equations or you can run also simulations. And simulations can give you analysis of behavior, where you have a multi-agent system that can simulate certain, buying and selling patterns, which you can't do with the equation that easily. And so back in IBM Watson research, we implemented a real-time sort of auction system for commodities trading. And then we did a lot of simulations. So we're talking massive number of simulations, where we had multi-agent systems, we showed interesting behavior, we even published on the work in AAAI and Artificial Life kind of conferences about how there's agents that would mimic human behavior. And so it's not easy to model that. You can, but it's going to be very complicated to model that. So simulation is another interesting way to go about doing it, in my opinion.
Okay, so there's a fundamental misunderstanding. What you talked about is about concrete systems. The concrete system. I did not speak about one concrete system. I spoke about the schema for such systems. I said there exists a set of buyers or a set of sellers, and there exists something like that. And on this abstract level of schema, you cannot simulate anything. But it's not true. In model checking, you have also symbolic model checking, where you can do it a little bit. So I should not too much. Yeah. So in a little bit, you can also on the schematic level simulate with the symbolic things. But yes, we do it on the symbolic level. What you told us is impressive on the concrete system level. And what you said about modeling, I'm not sure. If you have big problems with modeling your system, I always think you didn't understand already your system. Sorry to say that.
I mean, there's a lot of, stochastic random modeling techniques that Wall Street and others apply for trading. This has been going on for ages.
Okay.
There's a lot of modeling of how the market moves, how the buyers and sellers are happening. Even they can't figure out how to model the entire universe of trading. They're not really able to figure it out because they've tried all kinds of random walk methodologies, stochastic systems.
So I have not spoken about any aspect of stochastics and of probabilities. That is not the word I have spoken about. And I must confess I have no idea about this. And I always hope that one can do without this kind of stuff. Of course, I know we can always do, but try as much as possible to do without stuff.
I mean, it's not deterministic. That's my point. It's not very deterministic. So the modeling is right now nobody has a model.
Okay.
It's because it's so stochastic in nature. That's why there's all kinds of methods we apply to figure out what is happening. And the too many variables are very low. And so even if you freeze it and you do a deterministic model, you only capture a certain point.
I can only make a general remark that I made in my very first statement already. There's so much work put into software and so little work being done in good modeling techniques. And now you say, but there are no good modeling techniques. Yes, of course not. If you don't try to make them, then there are not. We should try to make better modeling techniques. I think there's something wrong if you have a software that has no adequate model. It is so, you want to understand the system, and you need a model for the system to understand. And if you have a software that does what you want, or you think it does what you want, but you have no model of this, then this is not serious engineering.
But Wolfgang, still, even if you have a model that is precise and correct, the implementation may not work. And for some of those issues, you may want to simulate how queues are filling up and emptying down and things like that, how the system behaves at an execution level, right? But that's a different level, right?
I agree.
Yeah.
And I could say a lot of things about this, but I don't. Okay.
Your assumption is always the rational agent, right?
Yes.
And I think that what he was pointing at is maybe the irrational agent. Is it also possible to include an irrational set of agents in the inherent?
I think yes. So rationality means the model is rational at the end.
Yes, but the reality apparently is not.
Okay. But why should it be more difficult to model an idiot?
I don't know. I'm asking. Is it really easier to model an idiot?
Didn't you specify that the transition is firing yes or no?
Is it really? Just think really carefully.
It's a serious
Is it
question.
really easier?
It's right, it's right.
Can you predict Trump?
I don't know. Of course not.
That this is what is the worrying part, right? So modeling irrationality is the crown jewel of it all.
But the aspect of rationality, I'm not focusing on using
No,
it.
the whole
in
thing
any
is
way.
built on the assumption of agents. Everything is built on it.
Full dementia is also easy to do.
Full dementia is,
Dementia.
but irrational is hard.
Irrational.
I think this is close to chaos theory.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay. Maybe next
Maybe
But
this
I
is
mean,
the
aren't you
problem
fo-
of the link to the systems code.
Aren't you actually focusing mostly on modeling the sort of the rules of the game? And
Yes.
you're not actually trying to model the rationality. You might follow the rules of your games in a very irrational way, for example, by proposing stupid prices. Okay. So I sort of understood the rationality versus irrationality part to be kind of factored out of the equation here, and you're kind of focusing on formulating the rules of the game, whether you played stupidly or smartly.
Yeah, but the claim is that this has to be linked to the systems code. This is always the ambition. And if you take it completely out, then it remains action.
Okay, so you say in the system code there exists also rational behavior, and we also should not only model the rules, but also the idiots.
Yes.
Maybe we do this. It didn't so far.
Maybe the comment on that. What we've seen are the rules.
Yes.
If the price is lower, you go for the lower price or higher or whatever.
Yeah.
Whether you enter in the system 10 bits for your picture from 1 to 10 millions or something like that, it's captured in the system, and then you have to simulate it, what would happen there. But it's not captured in the rules, right? Because I think the irrationality of the agents, you cannot pack in the rules.
Yes.
Otherwise, you would have some transitions that fire
Exactly.
randomly with nonsense prices or
And
something
then the
like
whole
that.
thing collapses.
Yeah,
basically.
because then you forget what is a rule and what is irrational behavior. I think it's a good idea to separate these.
Well, it's always a pleasure to discuss with Wolfgang, because, I mean, on the one hand, he's a very nice man, but at the same time, he's extremely provocative, and that's a wonderful combination. Thank you very much.
Also es geht um die erste Frage.
Also, wir haben das Fußball nicht, weil wir das ist ja also der muss dann kommen, ne?
Das ist gut, dass diese Geschichte